Hey, check this out right now. I'm going to show you a video. I just recorded it with David Tal. He was in studio. We're going to talk about the problem from the north and the south and the east. What's going on in the west in America regarding Israel. Friends, you do not want to miss this. In fact, you're going to want to share it with everybody. We're going to talk about the end game, and then at the very end, we're going to work right on through it. Wait till you see this. We're going to arrive at, where I'm telling you, that peace plan of Antichrist, it is coming, and we're going to watch how everything is developing as you see all the pieces of the puzzle fit in this time with David together. By the time you get to then, you're going to go, oh, wow. I can see exactly what is happening. I'm telling you, friends, it is leading up to that covenant. That covenant is coming. I don't know the day or the hour, but wait till you see how everything connects. Check this out. You're going to want to like and share this thing and watch every second of it. Welcome everybody to Hope for Our Times. We have just a special video for you right now, and this is something that you really need to see and hear every word. It's something you're going to want to share with all of your friends, and so let's get ready to roll. We're going to be visiting Israel with my friend David Tal, who's here in the studio with me. He's come from Israel to California, and just a reminder, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps us when you do those things to be able to get the word out and share also. But David, we're going to be talking about a few things. I want to ask you about the day after, what's going to happen? What's the plan going forward? And we're going to get into right now, before we get to what's the plan going forward. I mean, there's so much hatred towards Israel right now and the Jews. But I want to ask you, we're going to start north, south, the trouble from the north, trouble from the south, east, and what is going on in the west. So David, by the way, is from Balagon Connection. Make sure, and we have these shirts available too, which we'll get into in a minute, because all of the proceeds, 100% of the proceeds from the shirts go to support the ministry, getting the truth out there. Hope for Our Times doesn't get 1 penny off it, but you can get it through Hope for Our Times. And all of the proceeds go to Gihon Springs and Balagon Connection. So we're going to get into that. And but right now, let's start north, south, east, west.
Well, first of all, I'm glad to be here again, and it's amazing that what's going on in Israel, and I have to tell you, I feel really weird being on this side. I mean, I feel bad that I'm not on the back of a tank in Gaza right now. But I believe there's a war going on that is critical, and in this war, Israel is the bullseye. Israel is the epicenter. Israel is ground zero, and we talked about what's happening in Israel, but let's kind of move out and talk a little bit about what's going on around Israel, and this has been a major factor in this war, So Israel and Gaza, Israel and Hamas, that's a battle that's taken on the southern part of Israel. Very interesting is that Egypt is staying out. Egypt is not playing a role, is being very, very careful to say, on one hand, we don't want to play a role in what's happening there. On the other hand, we don't want any Palestinian refugees. We don't want any kind of connection. But people forget, Israel has a border with Gaza, but Egypt also has a border with Gaza, and they could play a role. What we should really be taking careful to look at closely is what's happening in the north. The Iranians have set up a proxy, independent army that sits in southern Lebanon, that is not part of Lebanon. It is actually funded, trained, directed by Iran, that sits in southern Lebanon, and actually is being used by Iran to threaten Israel. And when the war broke out in the south, everybody thought that the Hezbollah is going to use this as an excuse. And in the beginning, they said, oh, if you cross our red lines, we will. And let's put it, the week after the attack on the 7th of October, it was yes or no. Every day that the Hezbollah doesn't get into the battle is another day that leads us to believe that they probably won't. And so one of the first things that the United States of America did was send an aircraft carrier with a whole support group and stare down at the Hezbollah and say, stay out of it. Israel moved a lot of troops into the north, And we have actually evacuated all of the towns, villages, and communities on the northern border in order for something that happened on October 7th not to happen in the north. And that's the situation right now. Rockets have been fired across, but it hasn't turned into an all-out shooting war with the Hezbollah. We're thankful for that. But in light of what happened with Gaza and Hamas, I think most people realize that Israel will have to take care of the Hezbollah in the north, because we can't have that kind of cocked revolver pointed at our head where they can decide when they want to pull the trigger or not. Israel, I think, has decided not to have that happen. The Iranians have created this, they call it the resistance movement, which is everybody who is resisting Israel, but everybody who's resisting the West, everybody who's resisting Saudi Arabia. And in this resistance movie, they have another proxy that's on the other side of Saudi Arabia in the south, in a place called Yemen. And a tribal society called the Houthis in Yemen have been fighting a civil war inside Yemen against both Yemen and the Saudis in the south. And lo and behold, what happens? The war starts off in Gaza, and the Houthis declare war on Israel. It's not the whole Yemenite government. It's this factor inside the Yemenite government declared war on Israel and actually fired a couple of long-range missiles at Israel. The first barrage of missiles were intercepted by the United States in the Red Sea. The second barrage of missiles were a long-range, ballistic missile, which means it goes up into the stratosphere and then comes down ballistically. That was taken out by one of Israel's missile defense systems called, not the Iron Dome, but the Arrow 2 system, which was used for the first time. So we have that on the southern part. And there's this war of attrition going on between Iran and this axis of resistance. Iran, the Houthis, the Hezbollah, the Syrians to a certain extent, okay? And on the other side was the Saudi Arabians, the Jordanians, the Egyptians to a certain, the more moderate Arab nations that Israel was reaching agreements with. I mean, the whole Abrahamic Accords were supposed to go there. And what the Iranians did when they started this war is that they tried to throw a wrench into any coming together between Israel and Saudi Arabia, which would have made the opposition to this resistance movement much, much stronger. And the question now is going to be, okay, what's Saudi Arabia going to do now? And on one hand, there's lip service to the poor Palestinians and everything, but on the other hand, we're not seeing any actual action that is taken either by the Saudis or by the Jordanians, who are now asking for Patriot missiles because the Houthis missed Israel, the great Houthis, and some of the rockets fell in Jordan. And Jordan is saying, why should we be hit by rockets that are being fired from 1,000 kilometers away? So in the East, we're seeing, okay, nobody's actually turned into this. And here's a very interesting thing. The Palestinians inside Israel have been very quiet. Both the Palestinian population inside Israel and the Palestinian population in the West Bank has been very quiet. We were worried about that. So on the whole, that has allowed Israel to concentrate all of its attention to what's going on in Gaza. Okay. So that's north, south, east, and west is the big question about what's going to happen.
Which I want to get to the west. I want to ask you about the day after in just a second. But I look at, I've been to Israel with you many times. I understand the layout of what you would call Judea and Samaria. Most of the world calls it the West Bank. But I have, in my mind, I look at some of the things I'm reading about although it's quiet, I'm reading reports about planning going on inside those areas of Judea, for example. By some of the groups that are definitely have an agenda. And, I was watching Caroline Glick just recently. She was saying how Israel was trying to accrue, I think it was 26,000 rifles from private companies within the U.S., and it looks like for the police department. But the U.S., this brings us to the West, is the Biden administration is saying, no, we're not interested in doing that because they're going to fall into the hands of Jewish settlers. For me, this is absolutely absurd when we see what's going on, when at the same time, there's a quiet, yet what I view as a growing threat inside Israel.
One of the things that Hamas killed on the 7th of October was a feeling, acceptance, even dynamic inside Israel that we can reach the moderate, pragmatic, reasonable Arabs, including in the West Bank. And the Palestinian Authority, which is actually in control of most of the West Bank, actually was considered this. We don't trust the considerate, reasonable, moderate Arabs anymore. So that's going to be a major shift I mean, we've been burned, okay? So we're going to be very careful anything in the future. Another thing that's happening is, yes, there are settlers. Yes, sometimes the settlers do something that is wrong. But in this world where likes are might, then if you can turn a minor settler problem into a major issue, you can counterbalance the other problems that are happening. And like everything else, this is being used and turned into something much more than it actually is in order to debunk actually Israel's right to defend itself inside the other places. Oh, look at the settlers, look what they're doing. Yes, the settlers are sometimes a problem, but there's not a problem in any case that is even comparable to what's going on with Hamas in the West Bank that is actually threatening. And that brings us to the West. And the West on itself and the United States of America as a representative, okay, is finding it very easy to buy into the deceitful narrative that is being propaganded by the Arabs. It's easy to see Israel as the offensive. It's easy to see Israel as the colonialist. It's easy to see Israel as the whites in the black on white war, which is kind of ludicrous because most Israelis are Middle Eastern.
Yeah, dark-skinned,
Middle Eastern. How did we turn into the boogeyman?
It's college campuses. Barack Obama. I mean, he's become very outspoken against Israel, pro-Hamas. It's been absolutely awful. So you have college campuses. You have a lot of things that are coming out of the current Biden administration. No matter what, I can say this. You don't have to say it, but I can see it. And I'll tell you something else that has happened is the effect of wokeism, where here in America, you witnessed from over in Israel how all of a sudden a man can be a woman if he wants to, a woman can be a man, and there's a million different genders, and you have these oppressed people. So what we had here in America, you saw the Black Lives Matter movement, all these different things. So it's, these people are oppressed, therefore the bad people are here. And so that same narrative is being spun here against Israel. Oh, those poor Palestinians. Okay. It's part of the wokeism. It's a doctrine. It's a religion.
Well, I call it the victimhood culture. Okay, where in the Western culture has become a victimhood culture. I mean, the most important thing for a person to be is a victim. And we respect the victims. We like when the victimhood overlaps. It's called intersectionality. Okay, we like that when somebody is complaining about something, we're very, very soft on feeling empathy towards these victims. So if whoever manages to convey himself as the victim, then they receive the support. And here's the thing. It used to be the support of the fringe elements, the blue-haired ladies and the Karens of the world. That support or that victimhood narrative has spread from the colleges to a vast majority of the United States. Two things about the victimhood mentality. The main aspect of the victimhood mentality, why it's so seductive to many people, is if you're a victim, you are not responsible. So victimhood kind of gives you a get-out-of-jail-free card from responsibility for what happens in your culture, in your life, in your community. So if I can say I'm a victim, then I'm not responsible for what is happening. One. So everybody really, really likes that. And if you're not responsible, then you should be supported. I mean, okay, if I'm a victim, why go to work? I mean, I'm a victim. I can't go to work. Support me. Or if I'm a victim and I don't like the way people are treating me, so make sure everybody treats me accordingly and uses my correct pronouns, because otherwise I'm going to be very, very obstruct. So victimhood, and here's the thing. The Arabs very keenly, and I think probably with the help of people who know how to do this very well, have managed to plug in to the victimhood narrative. They're the victims. Israel was a victim after October 7th for about 2 days. But very quickly, the Arabs turned the victimhood back on. And when you're a victim, you have no responsibility. So if they're the victims, so what if they killed 1,400 people? If they're the victims, so what if they raped women? They're breaking out. If they're the victims, they can't be held responsible for anything that they do. And because a large segment of your culture, your society, your population has bought into this victimhood narrative, your politicians are looking to support the victims. And that's playing out.
The politicians will just listen to whatever the loudest group is. Right now, the loudest group is anti-Israel. David, I want to ask you about the day after in just a second, which I think our viewers really need to hear that. But before we go there, I want to just encourage everybody, listen, make sure that you check out David's YouTube channel. It's called The Balagan Connection. And it's a war on truth that we're fighting. And David's going everywhere he possibly can to be able to get the truth out there here. And if you know other people where David might be welcome to speak at, please let us know. But we need to get the word out. And with that, we do have these shirts that are available. They're called the Balagan Connection shirts. And 100% of the proceeds for the shirts go to support the ministry of the Balagan Connection and Gihon Springs also. Just an incredible ministry as Israel is involved. They're in it, and I'll ask David to explain Gihon Springs in a second. But listen, again, it's a way to support. People are asking me all the time, how do I support Israel? What can I do? And I know you guys love the Bible. You love Israel. You guys get it. You guys get it. And this is a way where you can say, I can support. So again, 100% of the proceeds go to the ministry, the Balagan Connection, and Gihon Springs. And again, this is a war on truth and everything we can do to get the truth out there. But David, can you explain to everybody, before we look at the day after, which people really need to hear about, what is Gihon Springs?
Gihon Springs has become a conduit or a way for people to support multiple ministries in Israel. The Balagan Connection is one of them. Netiva does work with young soldiers, young Christian-believing soldiers inside Israel, a pro-life ministry inside Israel. So you donate to one of these ministries through the Balagan Connection. And again, the Balagan Connection is making sure we supplied body armor to a military unit that was called up and didn't have enough. I mean, Israel's called up everything, and we didn't have enough to cover everything. A lot of donators and suppliers have been donating. And just today I got a message that a unit that we've been kind of working on to got their, bulletproof vests and are getting ready to go into battle. So that's what the Balagan Connection is connected to, Gihon Springs, which is the spring of water that bubbles up in Jerusalem in Mount Moriah. Oh,
that's great. And again, just a reminder, it's like all of the proceeds go to support these, even the body armor when you think of that. So you want to do something, great way to do it. And so I would encourage you to check out at Hope for Our Times. Just go to the store and you can see everything is there. Again, check out and make sure you support Balagan Connection, the YouTube channel too. But like and subscribe and share. The only way we're going to be able to get the truth out there is with your help like that. Like, subscribe, and share. And those things are all free. David, okay, the day after. What's this look like? We know there's a problem with the West, with the media, with the narrative that's coming from the government, the schools. We see Hezbollah, the Houthis in Yemen. We have the problems on the East. You got the problems with Iran. There's problems everywhere. Israel's surrounded by them, but they're in Gaza right now, dealing with Hamas. What happens the day after? What happens when?
Well, the interesting thing about what we're hearing more and more is that everybody's realized Israel's going to finish off the Hamas. I mean, it's a matter of a week, 2 weeks, whatever. It's going to be, and everybody's asking, okay, what are you going to do? I mean, you've finished off, all of the tunnels are blown up, all of the rockets are taken away, and the Hamas, which was a de facto government of the 2.5 million people in Gaza, will not exist as a political entity or as a military entity. So first of all, you have to understand that the idea of the Hamas, the jihadi fundamentalist idea that has actually been watered and treated and grown inside Gaza, is not going to disappear. And what's happening now is not going to make people like Israel anymore. So there's a lot of maneuvering going on right now between America, Egypt, Israel, probably Jordan, Saudi Arabia. Okay, what do we want to happen the day after? And I think most of the people realize that there's going to have to be some kind of military control Israel. I mean, again, we cannot allow this cocked revolver to sit on the other side of the border pointing at our heads anymore. That's not going to happen. So Israel's going to make sure that what happens in Gaza is not going to be any military. Israel would give Gaza to the Egyptians tomorrow. We would love them to take it over. Israel would probably give Gaza to the Palestinian Authority tomorrow. By the way, I don't know if you remember, the Palestinian Authority was kicked off in a war between Hamas and the PA back in 2007. So it looks like some kind of Palestinian Authority element, maybe with some concentration, conglomeration of different Arab powers, maybe even some of the Western powers, would take over the administration of Gaza. Israel will keep some kind of military or security control over Gaza. And I'm going to say this, and what I'm hearing in Israel more and more is, okay, we got it, but we have to solve the problem. And solving the problem is, defeating Hamas is only going to be half of it. And I think very truthfully, and this is what I've been pushing on this side, and I'm kind of interested to hear what you would think. When the United States of America defeated Nazi Germany in World War II, or for another example, Imperial Japan at the end of Nazi, the United States of America said, okay, we're going to have to stay here for a while to make sure, you know, this, but was very much for rebuilding both Germany and Imperial Japan after World War II. I think Israel would be for helping the Palestinians rebuild a viable society that is not based on this jihadi, we need to kill everybody kind of mentality. And if the world got behind that, that might work. Now, how that ties into end-time prophecy is very interesting, because there has to be peace.
Yes, there does. And I was going to say, if you wanted me to tie it in, I could easily tie it in, because this is what I've been saying since day one, as I've been doing these videos, live streams, and so forth. I've been warning people, this will develop into some type of peace and security agreement. I know it's going to go really bad, but at the outset, it's going to seem wonderful to all of the media. It'll seem wonderful to the right. It's going to seem wonderful to the left. Everybody's going to be saying how great this is. I know it will be a lie, because I've read Isaiah 28. I've read Daniel chapter 9. I've read the words of Jesus, Matthew chapter 24. So, but it has to go there, because what Ezekiel tells us also. So I know it's moving in that direction, and people will be shouting, we finally have arrived.
We've got a solution.
Yeah, but here's the warning, everybody. Paul wrote, 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, don't miss it. When they say peace and security, then sudden destruction comes. Listen, it is all going that way. And the peace and security isn't just verbal. It's we finally have arrived. And it's centered on Israel and Jerusalem. And David, I have no doubt that's exactly where it's going. In the way you painted the picture, how are they going to do this, get through Gaza? It's going to be world leaders that are all going to say, okay, we can do this. And I believe Israel's going to be put into a very difficult spot. But there's going to be the willing politicians that are going to say, this is a good idea, but it's going to be a lay down your arms. And here's the reality of it. We watch anti-Semitism all over the world exploding. So what's been exposed, Jesus himself said, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So even if this anti-Semitism is quieted down, it's in the hearts. It's been bred into college students and universities. It's been bred through the media. It's been exported throughout the world, and it's in the heart of people living in Israel. So unless a person is changed on the inside, it's there. So it will be a false peace that's going to be entered into. It's going to come eventually at the heels of what's happening right now.
We can see it happening. But maybe just to add on one thing that I kind of was doing a podcast a little while ago, and you open up, 2 Timothy chapter 4, and it says, because their ears are itching, they're going to create false teachers, that they're not going to follow sound doctrine. They need false teachers. And the false teachers now have professorships in most of the universities in the United States, and that's going in a certain direction.
And I'll say this: you don't have to say it. And churches have raised up false teachers. That passage is primarily directed at the church, which is interesting. And where it says they won't endure sound doctrine, it literally means they will not put up with the truth. In fact, I deal with that in my new book, that aspect of it. Listen, David, thank you for joining me. And everyone, both David and myself, will be at Brandon Holthouse Conference. You can check it out on the website. Just go to events there. We'll both be there Saturday, November 18th. I hope that you can join us. All of the proceeds from Brandon's conference, every bit of the proceeds are also going to support an organization in Israel. So don't forget that. Right here, you can get the Balagan shirt to support. 100% of the proceeds go to support, even buying body armor for soldiers over in Israel and so forth. So, and to get the truth out through David's podcast. So go there, and then Brandon's, if you can't join in person, you can live stream. 100% of the proceeds of Brandon's also go to support Israel too. So great opportunity to support Israel. And thank you everybody for joining us. David, any final words for everybody?
Well, just like the deception is going viral, help the truth go viral. Hope for Our Times, the Balagan Connection. This is the truth being spread, but it needs, like what's going on in the media world today. It needs to spread through it's got to spread like wildfires. I mean, I need the help of the people to take these truths and put them on their social media, spread them to their friends, and make sure that this gets as far as possible. That's what needs to be done right now, and pray for the peace of Jerusalem.
Amen. Thank you very much for joining me. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. And listen, until next time, God bless. Make sure you like, subscribe, share this with everybody you can. The word needs to get out. God bless you.